Welcome back to the Capes and Tights podcast right here on capesandtights.com. I'm your host, Justin Soderberg. This week, we welcome the return of comic book artist Liana Kangas to the podcast to discuss their comics, True Cult, Know Your Station, and the upcoming Mariko Between Worlds graphic novel over at Mad Cave. We discussed all that, conventions, and so much more right here. But before you get started, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, as well as rate, subscribe, review, all that stuff over at Spotify and Apple. This is Liana Kangas, comic book artist. Enjoy, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast, Liana. How are you?
I'm back. I'm good. I'm really good. Yeah. I'm glad that we're doing it at like noon, so I'm more awake this time, though I did just tell you that I am still like waking up. Today's one of those days. You know, I had a good long Sunday, so coffee is...
It's actually funny because I usually I have a 2-year-old and I'm the drop-off parent. My wife is the pickup parent at it's really her aunt's. I call it daycare, but it's just her aunt's house. And typically on the mornings, I drive my son to daycare and then I come back to my office. Well, this morning, my wife had a doctor's appointment. So she's like, oh, I'll just drop him off on the way. And I was like, oh, man. So I was able to sleep in a little bit, too, which sleeping in for me is like 7:30 now because I still have
I love that for you.
But still, it was nice.
The first day I slept in probably months. I don't know. But I was just telling you, like, I'm watching our best friend's dogs right now. So I have 4 dogs right now. So I was like, can't sleep in with that. That's, you know, my sleep in was, I think, 8 o'clock. So,
but it was funny. My wife and I last 2 weekends ago, we were supposed to go to a wedding, but we opted not to just because of long story. But my mother-in-law was going to watch my son for the weekend, and we didn't want to take that opportunity away from her because obviously she wanted to see him for the weekend. So we're like, oh, we'll still drop him off. It's fine. And then like Saturday morning, we woke up and it was like 6:45, and we're like, okay, we're awake. And like, oh my gosh, our like internal clocks are just now getting us up. Like we can't sleep in anymore. This is crazy. You have a full
day. What are you gonna do?
Exactly. I'm like, I don't know what to do. But we ended up finding out.
I kind of want to know about this like wedding gossip, only because I feel like it is the season for wedding gossip. But
well, it's
we
not
can
like
pass.
It's not any gossip. It's the fact that like it was in. So I live in Maine. I live in like 3 hours into Maine, like up northern Maine, or not northern Maine. I live technically central Maine, but it's like 3 hours from the border of Maine and New Hampshire.
You're like near Portland, aren't you?
Yeah, 2 hours north of Portland.
Oh wow.
So like
okay,
yeah, so like it's a haul to get anywhere outside the state of Maine, and this wedding is in Rhode Island. And so it's like a 6-hour drive ish. And it's in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. It wasn't, I should say, it was in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, which is like a really wealthy area. And so like hotels were like $500 a night. And
that's what I've heard.
And so we were able to find one from like a half an hour away for like $250 a night. So we felt like it was a deal. So we were going to go to this wedding. This person was supposed to come to our wedding, but it was the pandemic. So they didn't come.
Oh, you had a pandemic wedding?
August of 2020. So it was like out of the, it was like the, oh my gosh, I think we're going to be okay. This is fine. And then no, it wasn't. We had 50 people because that was the max, including wedding party and all that stuff. But yeah, so they weren't able to come. So we were going to go. But the weekend prior, I had just driven to New Hampshire. And so my wife and I are both like, oh my God, we're just exhausted. I don't want us to drive again. So we felt kind
Sometimes you just got to cancel stuff. I love that for you.
It was like, I guess like we felt mean, but in the same sense, we're like, at this point, they've already made the approvals on what their catering was going to be. So by canceling now or going, they're still going to make this food. So I was like, whatever. Someone got an extra plate at the table probably, but that's okay. So we didn't go, but it was nice. It was relaxing. My mother-in-law got to see my son. It was a good time. I read a lot of comics. How about that? Does that work? Is that like good trade-off?
It's a great vacation day, you know?
Yeah, it was fun. It was I don't know. I was happy and excited to go to a wedding because I'm like, I don't go to that many weddings. So it was like, oh, this is gonna be so much fun. But then I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so far away.
You know, like your body knows like what you can do and what you can't. And you just have to come to terms with like not having to do a 12-hour drive for somebody's one-day wedding, you know? It's a lot.
It was actually the funny thing about that, Liana, is it was multiple days, meaning that there was everyone invited to party on Friday night.
So nice. So they make a whole weekend out of it.
But the wedding wasn't until 4:30 on Saturday. So like the entire day, you basically got to do whatever you want, which is fine. And then there was a post reception party. So not even just there was a reception and then a post reception party that went 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. And my wife and I were both like, we went back to our hotel at 8:30 at night on our wedding night because we were just done. It was tired. I was exhausted. I'm like, I can't imagine going out till 1 o'clock in the morning. The next morning was brunch that everybody was invited to. And so that was cool. But it was like, again, at the end of it, we're like, we were just going to vacation from the vacation of going to a wedding. So we're like, yeah, let's just stay home. And it was worth it. We relaxed. We cleaned the house because my son wasn't here. It was nice. So it was worth it. Sorry, they won't listen to this anyway because they don't like comics. So that's why I feel freely saying this. We didn't go to your wedding. They're never going to listen to it, but which is fine.
They're going to be like, remember that one episode where you talked shit about us and our wedding? And then that one creator was like, oh, yes, tell me all the gossip.
Tell me all the gossip and like supporting me not going.
Yeah. Listen, everyone's got to have like a certain level of respect to friends that just know when to call it. You know what I mean? My best friends whose dogs I'm watching, we're like, you want to cancel? You say, yes. Like, we are ready to be in pajamas and cancel at any moment. You just got to have good friends like that. So
it is what it is. But like I said, I was happy to go to it. But at the end, I was more happy that we didn't go to it. And we saved $500 because we were able to cancel the hotel in enough time that there you go. I technically, if you want to say I made money that weekend, if you think about it that way.
My best friends actually, whose dogs I'm watching, I actually couldn't go to their wedding because it was New York Comic Con weekend. And that was like one of the first ones that I was like working the whole weekend. Now in retrospect, regrets, because I'd rather have gone to their wedding. But they like, we've like made up for it. It's like a on-running joke, You just there's going to be a good inside joke out of all this. Is the moral of the story.
Yes. Well, I'm going to send them a gift. And they sent me a gift too. So I will send them a gift. I don't know when that will be, but at some point we'll send them a gift.
You better use that hotel money towards it.
Well, now if they listen, they're gonna be like, that gift better be $500.
Yeah.
Here's this $5 gift card to your local Sonic fast food restaurant. No.
Listen, you can't hate on the slushies or whatever. Why can't
obviously,
word?
But
cherry limeade.
Okay, yeah. I don't have a Sonic. I have the closest Sonic's like in Connecticut or something like that. I don't know. There's no Sonics up here. I went into Sonic when I was on vacation once and I loved it, but we have like McDonald's. That's it. But whatever. Yeah. So you've been busy. You've been going to conventions and stuff. How's been the convention world doing?
That's pretty good. So far I've done, how many cons have I done this year? C2E2, San Diego. I'll be doing New York.
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to be a guest at GalaxyCon Austin next weekend. Is it next weekend? There's an on-running joke in my group of friends that I always say that I'm only going to do like 3 or 4, but then I do 12, like 3 a month or something, which is,
Do you do it just because you like going to conventions, or is it something that you feel like you like obviously like connecting with your readers and your fans and things like that? But like, is it the camaraderie of like seeing other creators? Is it like what's the reasoning? But
I think every con I have like a list of reasonings as to why I'll say yes. And so like if a con runner is wanting to invite me out and like pay for it, that is amazing to me, right? Like, because they have only a certain amount of funds that they can allocate. So like usually I'll always say yes if there's a con willing to invite me out, period. Like I can't wait to go to GalaxyCon Austin and like meet everybody that runs that con, because like that means they like your work and support you. So it's like, number one, yes. Number two, like the FOMO of missing your friends is so aggressive, which is why I go to San Diego every year, because it's the one show I know where I get to see most of my West Coast friends and most of my New York friends that I don't necessarily get a lot of time with at New York and stuff. And primarily, a lot of times I say yes to cons for cities that I haven't been to yet because of like seeing people that I would never get to see, like either they're on my Patreon or they're new fans, stuff like that. Like I hadn't been to Chicago in years now, and this year going to Chicago was like so eye-opening to me in terms of what Know Your Station and like True Cult and everything has done, because like I had like there were cosplayers at San Diego Comic-Con of Know Your Station. I literally cried on stage on a panel seeing them. Like it was like mind blowing to me because it's not even out in trade yet, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and then there's, you know, these super mega fans of like True Cult that have been coming up to my booth being like, I backed the Kickstarter and I have all the stuff. And, you know, like there was this one couple that was like at C2E2 specifically, you know, me not having gone for a couple of years and like, you know, they had supported my work before and they supported the Kickstarter and like the kind words that they said about my work and just being like, oh yeah, we met Marty McFly and just took a photo and like our whole outfits are inspired by like your color palette and stuff like that. And it's just like so jarred by the fact that like that's the thing that I miss most about, or what I had missed most about, like not going to cons. And so seeing people in person again, like I remember why I do what I do, because prior to comics, like I worked a lot of trade shows and traveled a lot for work and like met, you know, I would like to consider myself a people person and I love talking to people. So cons, despite being incredibly draining and like travel and you know you're having to be on all weekend and stuff, but like really truly getting to see and meet people that like connect with your stories and stuff is it's the best part sometimes of this job. It's honestly the best. Yeah.
Are
So it's
you
like
okay?
everything.
Yes. Yes. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, so I was, you know, we were talking local cons in this area and I help with my convention. And a lot of times, a lot of the stuff that I help with is pre-convention. So I do a lot of their like announcement graphics and things like that and help with those things. And so like when the convention actually comes along, I'm like, my job is done. And so like a lot of times I'll go and just like stand by Artist Alley and just have conversations with the creators that I'm friends with over the years and like just shoot the shit all day. And like, that's my convention experience is because that's what I look forward to the most is because like, yes, can I run into certain people here and there, but are they ever like all in one area at one time or new creators that I haven't seen or creators I haven't seen in a long time
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. And like, I don't just like Steve Levine, you know, TMNT legendary Steve Levine lives in Maine, but I don't run into him, but like, that's where I get to see him is at conventions. So we chat and hang out and so on and so forth. So there's all those experiences that I do like, but also for you, you're obviously selling things and so on. But do you, and this is a question to judge you or not, but do you charge for your autographs at your table or if you
No, though I recently got picked up, my new art rep is Cadence. And joining an art rep where they have like your best interest in mind in terms of like the other side of collectors, whether it be like CGCing stuff and things like that. It really just depends. Like I charge for CGC signatures,
yes,
but I don't charge for just like somebody coming to bring a couple issues to my
yes,
table. You know what I mean? Like way different. And then obviously if they want it like personalized, I would never charge anybody for that.
yeah,
But I think it just depends. And I think the people that know that they feel like they have value brought to it with my signature, they don't mind if I charge, which is always like gratifying feeling, right? Knowing that I'm like, hopefully one day you can flip this, that'd be great for
yes,
you, you know what
yeah,
I mean?
exactly,
Like and I understand like the collector's game as a collector myself, so like while I don't quite understand like the CGC and grading and stuff as much as I should,
yeah,
i I don't mind. I primarily, you know, I'd rather let Cadence handle that in terms of
yes,
like what to charge, right? Because they'll
yeah.
know what it's for. So honestly, taking that off of my plate is a little bit of a relief, you know.
Yes,
So
exactly. I get the reasoning behind that question was more along the lines of I think some people don't know the inner workings of what a convention, what goes into like bringing artists and creators and these people to conventions is that like when you say I'm going to throw a name out there, just you know, if Michael Jordan was at a convention signing autographs, you know, someone brought him into C2E2 for some reason, and a photo with him would be $80 and a autograph would be $40
right.
and this is like, oh, you want to take a selfie and it's this, or you want to have a sign a pop, it's this. Not that there's anything wrong with that. My point would be is that your celebrity guests that come to these conventions have guarantees, and as long as they make them, they don't have to worry
That's
about it.
true.
And so when an artist or creators brought in, it's like a lot of times if you were an invited guest, so if Liana Kangas was invited to come to, you know, the Capes and Tights, you know, convention, we would offer to pay room and board or like room, flight, as well as maybe pay you to be there and things like that. But that's just like out the door. Like it's hopefully we'll sell tickets because
Yeah.
you were at the convention, so you come in. So a lot of times if you see these smaller conventions only have a few creators on, it's because that's literally a budget line for them that they're not going to get
Yeah.
back, that hopefully brings value with them being there. And so sometimes if you go in there, a lot of times, like if you see your local creator convention has a cool creator in there, buy a ticket, go see that person, because that person likely was, they had to put money out to get you to come. And
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly.
the difference in that thing. And so when you see, like, it's hard to say, you know, Liana, you have a table and you're gonna not charge for autographs. Like there's no physical dollar amount that comes back to the convention because you're there, other than the tickets to get in the door. And so there's a difference
Yeah.
in there. I think it's one of those things that people are always like, why don't they just get all these creators there? I'm like, it's a lot harder because the fact that, like, a lot of you creators don't charge for a quick signature or a quick photo with someone. And so,
Yeah.
like, whereas, like, I just Kane Hodder signing, Jason stuff is charges for that stuff, and that's how they recoup their money off it. So there's a difference in there, and I think that's what everyone mentioned. That's all it was.
I think there's a line too of like what every creator is different in terms of how they
Yes.
make their money too. Like I necessarily don't depend on conventions. I
Mm-hmm.
do conventions because I enjoy traveling, I enjoy seeing my friends, and I enjoy meeting fans. And so, yes, while I have to manage my expectations of like either breaking even or making money, and like how
Mm-hmm.
will I make that money, and how can I, that goes into the list of the reason why I take that con or not, right? And for other, I know, watching a lot of my friends or peers charge for signatures and stuff like that, that's how they make some of their
Mm-hmm.
money for that year, which I think is really important to know, because I've seen a lot of people like kind of scoff at like prices for signatures, or even I've been made fun of for how much I charge for like my sketches and stuff
Yeah.
at cons. And while I would never be, I think it's funny that people like have made fun of my prices in the past, but I'm like, this is what I do. This is my job. You know what I
Yes.
mean? This isn't like necessarily what I do for fun. So like when people get upset, when people charge for signatures over like one or two
Mm-hmm.
issues, I'm like, well, maybe that's going to be how they make their quarter this year. It's crazy that most people don't consider that people look at this like a business.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that really interesting. And honestly, this is a really good topic of conversation because like not a lot of people talk about it,
Yes.
and I have multiple streams of revenue, whether it be like drawing sequentials or like my Patreon and or commissions or things like that. But that's how I manage to sometimes do the things I do, or do multiple cons, or
Mm-hmm.
or take off 2 months from sequential, or like just managing my expectations for like how much I'll make that year.
And we know how, page rates are for more of the big two and all those things when you're
Yeah.
actually paying. It's not great, and so a lot of those people who are, you say you have to, so you're like physically like, if I don't charge for this autograph, I'm not going to make money this year. That's okay.
Yeah.
Like that's one of those, and it's also one of those things. It's not like you creators are out there charging $50-$60 for an autograph of a one issue of a book that's not
Right.
graded. Like this is usually like, okay, they'll give you a couple, and then it's like $5 or $10, and it's like, okay, that's like buying an additional issue. Like, how much more value do you feel like personally is this book worth to you because someone signed it? And that's what I think is, it's when someone comes up to your table and they have like 6 issues of True Cult #1 and they want you to sign all
Right.
6 of them. It's like, obviously you're not gonna, like,
Exactly.
what are you doing, a collage on
Unless
your
it was a
wall with signed?
retailer, unless it
Yes.
was a retailer of a shop, then
Yes.
I'd probably, then I would probably charge. But
Yes.
it's like, I don't, for instance, you sent me some books to
Yes.
sign. I was like, as long as you pay for the shipping,
Yeah.
I don't mind signing them because I know who they're going to.
Yeah.
And also, you've spent the time to talk to me and
Yeah.
like share my work, right? So yeah.
It's a weird because a lot of, like, I have friends of mine, or acquaintances I should have said, of mine, who are not brick and mortar shops but more of an
Mhm.
online, like, I'm buying and
Yeah.
selling and trading and things like that. And how much more money someone can make off of a book that you potentially charge $5 for an autograph on, because it's signed by you, is
Right.
like, it's just so funny how some people don't see that in their mind, about how, like, I just profited extremely off of the hard work that you put in to create the comic book, and then the time that you took out of your day to sign the comic book, and then
Hmm.
I'm going to throw it up on eBay for $100, and they're going to make more money off of it than you did off that one issue. And some people
Yeah.
just don't see that equation on it. Like, personal autograph, signatured comic books are personally, like, if you collect it in your own thing, and it's for you personally.
There's there's a cover that I drew that was an homage for The Witching Hour. It was for the plot. I think it was the plot issue #1. And Tim Daniel, who's one of the co-writers and designer at Vault and stuff like that, him and I had kind of worked on that together a little bit, and like it's been an on-running joke that I see that thing flipped on eBay for like over $100 every time. And so now when people come get it signed, that is the only book I actually charge for to get signed, because I'm like, I don't know if somebody's going to flip this for $100 on eBay or more, depending, which is like great because that series is phenomenal. Josh Hickson is phenomenal. Mike Marisi, Tim Daniel, the entire creative team is great. And like, it was such an honor to do a Vault, vintage or whatever. And also working with Tim, who's like one of my favorite people to work with. But it is one of those things where I'm like, at this point, I got to make back something,
Yes. Well, and you mentioned the retailer part of it. Good.
Oh, I was going to say, and the people that know that are willing to pay. Like one of my longtime fans, he came and he was like, hey, can I get this actually remarked? And I was like, oh my God, yes. Like to remark that book out of all of them. And he didn't mind paying for it. You know what I mean? So it's just like, the people that really, truly valuable that like just don't even blink at that. We've talked about this for so long. Sorry.
No, so I wanted to like finish this like segment off about like that there is this thing about retail. It's like Third Eye Comics in Virginia is a great example, in my opinion. This is just from my experience, that when they have a creator come in and do signings, obviously they allow people to come in, get their book signed, and then they leave or whatever. A lot of times it's free. You can buy the VIP package, which just like gets you in first and more books or whatever it is. But they also, obviously, the creators that are there, and you likely do the same thing if you visit a shop. You sign the comics for the people, and then the owner probably has you sign a few copies for them to put on their shelves and stuff like that. And like Third Eye, it's like $12.99 for a $3.99 issue on their website to buy the signed edition of it. And this is mainly for the likelihood they had to pay to get that creator in their store. So they had to pay a flight or gas or a hotel in the room or food or whatever. And so they're trying to recoup some of that cost on that. They're not trying to profit off of it. A lot of these stores and people who like retail shops want that. If you have a signature on a thing, they're likely not going to even charge more. They're likely just using it as an incentive for you to buy that comic book in the first place. So like if I have a trade,
$13 is so cheap, by the way.
It's
like
so
that's
cheap.
Unreal for a signed
I was like,
book.
are you kidding me right now? And that's like some of the ones like so over the time I've always kept an eye on their website, because I'm always like, is there a creator that I really don't have a chance to see that I want a signed book from? I just got a Rodney Barnes Philadelphia book from them for like $13, and I was like, okay, that's a hella deal. And it's one of those things that like signatures are such a weird thing, and the fact that you were nice enough to send me some, and a lot of people don't know, is that there's literally all the guests that I have had on the podcast. I've had, I would say about 80% of them have signed books from me. I've either met them in person or, like we did. It's as wide of a range of people that I'm talking to nowadays. It's hard to just meet them at a convention because I live in Maine, and it's you creators don't come to Maine that often. But no, we'll get you here, Liana. We'll get you here at some point. But they're also funny, honestly. And if you wanted to write to Justin on it, I would have been fine with it, because it's literally staying in my possession for the rest of my life. And that's the I wanted that.
I'm the same way too.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are very particular about like whether or not they put their names, but I'm like, name, draw something on it, I don't care.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I actually have a lot of stuff made out to me specifically that has the spelling of my name wrong. You know what I mean? Like, which is also honestly better. Yeah.
Why are you selling that? Well, my name is spelled wrong, so I'm trying to find someone with the right spelling to sell it to them. No, it's I have a someone gave me, my old boss in Massachusetts before he retired gave me a Larry Bird signature, which I thought was pretty cool, but it says to Jack on it, and I was still like, this still means something, because it was like,
your name starts with a J. It's fine. Yeah.
I feel like it's just scribbled. Like, hopefully it's scribbled. No, it says to Jack, but I'm like, it's still Larry Bird's signature. So like, it was given to me from someone else. So I'm not just going to flip it around, turn it and sell it on eBay. So it's always going to be in my collection. And so like, that's one of those weird things that like, I don't really care about that part, but like, I mean, I've had people sign things to me or to Capes and Tights or whatever. And I'm like, that's actually even cooler to me, because it's like, it shows the person, if ever somebody ever sees my collection, they're like, oh, that person actually personalized it to, like, you met that person or I know that person. This is not just went on eBay and bought a signed comic book off of someone. Right. So I think it's pretty cool. But We could talk about conventions and signatures and the crazy world of comic books, all in all, like forever. But Know Your Station is coming out on trade paperback September 20th. Is that correct? Look at that.
Probably.
I like
I
that.
cannot
I
confirm or
like that.
deny the date.
I love that cover, but I was actually kind of, and this is nothing against anybody, but it's sad that it was. I liked issue one's cover, and I was hoping that would be the trade cover. But
The one I did?
yes.
I do. Okay. There's a level of where, thank you. I appreciate that. Number two, though, I kind of love that it's Becca Carey's variant because it
Yes.
feels more like a book market prose novel to me.
Mhm.
Because like you don't know what you're going to get on the inside, and I know a lot of people are very particular about like they want the variant or like the cover to match the interiors, which is all well and good, and I fully support that. But I'm obsessed with Becca Carey's work. Like her work to me is so cool, and she also did the cover for Eat the Rich. And
Mhm.
so to have like to be in another series of like Gailey's Boom originals and to be this specific
Yeah.
cover is like, I don't know, it's just so striking.
Yeah.
And I gotta be, I mean, selfishly, both of these on my table look really good together. You know what I mean?
That is
Like,
got to be like that True Cult cover is got like award winning for the brightest color cover of any trade paperback I've ever seen in my entire life.
fun fact, Mark Doyle and our editor Chase, they were having a conversation about the trade. And actually, if you buy the trade now, you'll actually kind of see a little bit into how the trade cover was made. There's a ton of extra content in this trade that you can't get in any of the issues. So Scott and I go a little bit into like how the trade cover was decided, but Mark Doyle was like, we want this cover to be so pink, like Liana pink, that it's like literally glowing off the shelves. And I mean, he's not wrong.
It,
I think, I want to say, I forget who at IDW helped choose the Pantone color, but I mean, you can't see this level of pink on a screen.
no.
It's so insane. And they, Nate, the designer for the cover, also did. He chose the back,
Okay.
the Paul Azaceta cover, the issue. I want to say it's maybe issue 5 variant. And it just works so well. And the spot gloss is like perfectly chosen
Mm-hmm.
on both sides. And it's just for this to be our trade paperback, I'm just so proud of it. And they were so cool about letting us, as being an IDW original, like
Yeah.
they let us have so much input. And it was not planned that Becca Carey's like variant, I mean, it just
Okay.
like matches so
Perfect.
perfectly. Like her pinks and stuff, like, and the yellow go along so perfect. Like this is the True Cult pink and yellow in terms
Yes.
of the fast food joint or whatever. So
It pops off of a shelf. Holy
yeah.
smokes! Like I did. So I saw the just solicitations, and when we did a review on the website, we used obviously that artwork for the featured image because that's what the trade looks like and so on and so forth. And it's like, oh, this is pink. And then I went into the store and I saw it on the new trades, and I was like you were blinded by it. And
Like
all that's
punched in
gonna
the
do,
face.
yeah,
Love
all it's
it.
gonna do is
Yeah.
people go, what the hell is this? And want to pick it up and look at it. Like
Yeah.
that's a huge thing. And obviously there's an artwork that goes into it, there's art that goes into it. Like you like the way it looks and you like the way it feels, but also that doesn't hurt. The fact that it's like
Mm-hmm.
calling to people and saying, you need to pick this up. I don't even care what the book's about. You need to read this book because it's
Yes.
so striking.
But you were asking about Know Your Station. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
That's okay. That's great. I'm glad because I mean, so True Cult is available on trade right now in your local comic book shop, so you should get that too. But
Yes.
it's now going to be out. The miniseries has been completed in single issues. It's coming out in September. What's it like now that people have had, like, have you gotten the vibes at cons and things like that? People got the whole story and they read it and they're excited about it, and those who are trade waiting are missing out on reading it so far, and that they can get to read it now. What's the experience like getting to the end of this and getting into trade?
It's amazing because it feels like it hasn't quite started yet, like
Mm-hmm.
the few folks who have read everything, I've had such amazing conversations with them at cons, like that by far. And like seeing the cosplayer crying,
Yes.
I had a full panel with Sarah Gailey at San Diego Comic-Con and our editor Elizabeth about how to collaborate when you're strangers, because Gailey and I paired as strangers on this book, and we had such an incredible, I mean, honestly, that was like the way to wrap up us working together, and hopefully all working together again on something one day. And we got to discuss, you know, all the ins and outs of how this book came to be and the process of everything. And honestly, getting to have these very unique experiences with fans, me mostly being like, what did you think of like seeing my work and seeing gore related to my work is like probably very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
because not a lot of, unless you've read my Razorblade story with James Tynion, um, my gore is like kind of weird. And so to have this entire book be out in completion, I'm kind of interested to see like how folks are going to react who are trade waiters,
Mm-hmm.
which trade waiters, I'm like, I get you. Personally, especially now as my collection grows,
Yeah.
a lot of my books are either now being trade weighted, even if I buy the issues, because
Yes.
I'm just like, I don't want to open the issues, which sounds really like lazy of me, which, you know, when you draw comics all day, sometimes you just don't have time.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
So
I completely understand that. Like, and I read, like I mentioned to Joe, who's the episodes I think are back. We recorded with Joe Carollo like
yeah,
last
which is so
earlier today,
wild.
but actually his episode is next. So, but is that I read at night, and so reading on an iPad for me is I love opening a trade. I love opening a physical issue, but something where it's just easier for me to read at night. My wife's
Yes.
sleeping, I'm reading, and so like there's that. The benefit I get is I get a lot of like Boom will send out the trade in PDF for review purposes. So I get to read, I get to own it physically, but I also don't have to worry about opening it because I can just read the trade digitally. But
Yeah.
the things like you with the True Cult one, there's certain things that you aren't going to pick up unless you actually
Yeah.
physically hold the issue. But trade waiting is not. I used to be a kind of a I would be mean in the comic book store when someone would come in and be like, "Oh, I don't want to get that because I'm a trade waiter," and I'd like the person would leave and I'd like talk behind their back. I'd be like, "Oh, get the single issues. Come on, what are you doing? Get the single issues." And then I was like, I understand it now. Like I understand. Like, can you imagine if a prose novel came out in like chapters at a time, how you would be kind of disappointed in that if you were used to
Oh
reading that.
God. I
You know what I
mean,
mean?
that's
Like,
kind of what magazines would be, right?
yeah.
Like sometimes
Mm-hmm.
installments are hard because if you are ingesting as much content as folks like us do, like it's the same as serialized TV.
Yep.
You don't
Oh
remember
yeah.
what happened the next episode, that, you know, so they always do the recap, which is
Yep.
important, right? And like good single issues do that, you know, there's always the recap. But yeah, I don't know. I get both sides.
I do, and I would get more on like so. I'm a single issue person because I'm a collector mostly, and so like
Yes,
a lot of
yeah.
it's like I want the covers. I really dig when a graphic novel or trade paperback, I should say, uses like the artwork of the issues as the chapter break sometimes because I like the
Mm-hmm.
idea of like you still get that like this is what was setting up for that issue because this was the cover and so on and so forth. I also like the idea when they put it all in the back. There's all kinds of ways to do it, and I appreciate that. I just do like you can see behind me. I think we've talked about these. I just like collecting and organizing, and some
Yeah.
of it's my it's a mental health thing. I like the idea of like I don't know, it's just a way to escape from things and like put things in order. And like all the issues that are behind me are current series, not all of them, the top shelf are currently issues that I'm collecting, like that are
Yeah.
week to week or month to month, I should say. And the other ones are like, a couple of Scotty Young bins. And there's like, I just like that part of it, but I understand the reading all at once. So I've done a lot more of the read the first issue. If I like it, then I'll wait, either read all 5 issues at once or wait for a trade, so on and so forth. So I do understand it now more. I still am going to be probably for a while the buy 5 issues and then still buy the trade kind of
I
person, which you love because that's just more people buying the book.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as somebody who also like I like supporting my peers, and so
Yeah.
I'll buy
Yes.
single issues even if they're out of order for like variants stuff, because like I want to show that they are a marketable person. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to purchase that, but I also like supporting my shop. I like, you know, a ton of reasons why. But a lot of people, I had somebody ask me recently from an interview, I think it was Jimmy Gasparo at Mad Cave. sorry, not Mad Cave, at Comic Book Yeti, the other podcast, asked if I like doing graphic novels versus like direct market more. And I was like, I can't decide because like I
Mm-hmm.
like drawing direct market because I support the direct market.
Mm-hmm.
I love doing that, despite like sometimes the scheduling and stuff, you know, direct market scheduling is like very intense comparatively to graphic novel or, you know, so I get both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally like I definitely have a love of like, you know, that inner kid slash teen in me that's like, you know, I miss the letters in the back, which is why I like when a lot of like creator owned stuff does that. You know, that's one of the reasons why Scott and I involved so much stuff. That's one reason why, you know, Boom has like such a really cool fan base that I think Sarah and I have had a lot of like interactions with like cool people, in terms of, you know, they had read the first couple issues because they're like big Boom collectors and stuff. And, you know, them talking to me about the end and like how creative, and you know, I just it's a very cool feeling. And I cannot wait till this comes out because I can't wait to see how people, you know, what their response to it is going to be, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And
Especially because it is a horror, you know, space horror,
it's space where
which I've done a lot of sci-fi and I've done a lot of fantasy and I've done a lot of like
mm.
interesting stuff, but this is really, like I said, like my first full trade of like gore and horror. So
And I mean, there's a lot of pink still in it, which is great. Is this
yeah,
perfect for
Rebecca Nazi. Oh, wow.
dude? The two of you together though, like it's like it's a dream come true a lot of times. If you see the two of you on a book, I'm just like, okay, this artwork's gonna be stellar. There's no question about that.
I love working with her. I don't think I've, she can correct me on this. I don't think I've ever really sent her a note. She just like gets me.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. She's just so good. She's so good. She's also the colorist on my graphic novel Mariko Between Worlds at
Yep.
Mad Cave. And
Mm-hmm.
like that wasn't planned at all. What's funny is like that was colored first and then she was paired on Know Your Station and I was like, huh, awesome, because we just finished this other book. I was like, I know this is gonna be amazing. You know what I mean?
Amazing, yeah.
Like I
But
can't wait to work with her again. Don't know what it's gonna be on, but
you will.
hope,
It's
you know?
inevitably, it's inevitable, right? At this point, you know,
Yeah.
it's a crime murder just a murder mystery in space. And the biggest thing about to me is I chatted with Dennis Hopeless about Dennis's book at Mad Cave, actually, a Carmen line, and that was
Mhm.
it's in space and there's murder on it and so on and so forth. And so like my mention to him was that horror murders and like mysteries like that in space are almost drastically more scary and more unnerving because of the fact that you're stuck in this like space. Like it's easy to be like, oh, a murder on a farm. It's like if you run far enough, you can get away. This is like if there's something going on in the space station, like you literally there's walls you can't go anyway. Like
You're totally right.
it'd be the same thing if it was like a murder on a submarine. It's like you just there's nothing to do. You're gonna die if you go
Exactly.
outside the thing. So that's what's even more scary about it.
One of the reasons why I said yes to it, other than like obviously really enjoying Eat the Rich and stuff, not knowing Sarah, was the premise because like one of my favorite books of all time is The Brink at 2000
Mhm.
AD, and it is space mystery of like murders and stuff. You know what I mean? So to have like this like very bizarre who done it with this commentary on like class and our current landscape right now, and like how Gailey beautifully ties both together in just a supremely fucked up
Yes.
situation,
Yes.
is like if you've read any of their prose, I mean, like this is just like, even setting my own artwork aside, I'm like, this is such a fun like story of theirs, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
I would personally love this book and I'm the artist on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's amazing.
Did you a lot of the artwork in it is there's like obviously there's the computer system that is what's the computer's name again? I forget now.
St. Bridget.
Yes, thank you. There's ways that you interpreted the communication and the visuals of this. Was that something that you came up yourself?
It was a little bit of mix of both of us. So
Okay.
originally Gailey had pitched it as like the AI St. Bridget for the
Yeah.
ship was originally proposed as just like a helix that was visually shown on the ship. And I have like this old love for Halo, like from a
Hmm.
long time ago, that I was like, what if it was kind of like the Helix, but also sort of like Cortana? Like
Hmm.
there's a presence of a human presence of this AI, because like if rich people are talking to this, like a Siri or an Alexa or whatever, then I'm sure that they would want to see this AI personified. So it's like easier to talk to.
Hmm.
And also, if you think about it, like the employees on the ship, they're all working. So like
Hmm.
maybe having this personified AI will be, company for them,
Hmm.
right? And I got nothing but amazing feedback from that. So I was just like very proud of myself for wanting to, like I honestly just wanted to draw what I would want to see if I was stuck
Yeah.
on a ship.
Hmm.
So it was a little bit, I think it was like a joint effort, and like in all the design of the entire book,
Hmm.
between our editors, and also like, our art director and everything. So
Yes, it's honestly one of those books, and it's not just because you're on the podcast. I'm going to say this: it's in contention for one of the comic books of the year here at the podcast. So I will say that it's beautifully written, it's beautifully drawn, it's beautifully colored, lettered. It's an amazing book. So
that is such an honor. Thank you so much. That's so huge. I can't wait to tell Gailey that.
it's such a and I'm a big fan now, more recently, of miniseries. I love the idea that I can get a whole story and know where it's going, where I commit. It's
Absolutely.
easy to commit to, knowing that, okay, it's gonna be 5 issues. We know we're gonna resolve this. It's like when you seeing a movie and you pause the movie and it's like there's 5 minutes left and like, oh my god, there's so much more to unravel here. What the hell? Like it's nice to just
Yeah.
know what's gonna, and that you knew will get some sort of conclusion. And it doesn't mean that in most comics that are 5 issue, 6 issue miniseries, doesn't mean that it can't be more. Like you could just write it for 5 issues, and then if Boom was like, "This is amazing, let's do Know Your Station #2," that you
Mm-hmm.
potentially could make something else come out of it and make more. But I like the idea that
Right.
it's finite, that you're not just, we're going with Know Your Station until they tell us we can't make it anymore, and then at issue 7 they're like, "Oh, you get 2 more issues," and you're like, "Oh shit, now I have to figure out." We have to
How
figure out as a
to,
creative team
yeah,
how to wrap this thing up and make it
yeah.
make sense. And it sucks because Kyle Starks talked about that, about with I Hate This Place, and the fact that it was supposed to be 15 issues and it got shifted to 10, and the last 5 issues had to be like pushed into like the ninth and
I
10th
did not know
issue.
that.
Yeah, and he was not very. He was like, it sucks if you know about it ahead of time. Then you like had a plan. You know what? He knew that he basically knew like the first 5 issues and the last 5 issues and the middle 5 issues were like how he's gonna figure it out. But when they found out he was only gonna
Oh,
do
so
10
you
issues,
cut the middle issues out, I
yes,
guess.
but it was like he found out like in issue 7 or something like that, that he had,
Yeah.
like, it was the
Yeah.
craziest thing. And he just it is what it is. And it's the comic book industry that you sign up for. But in the same sense, he's like,
The
I was like, ah,
pitfalls of the direct market,
yeah,
right? Like,
exactly. Yes,
yeah.
exactly. And that's something you don't have to deal with something like Mariko Between Worlds. Like Matthew and you and Rebecca and Mike all were knowing you're getting this original graphic novel. You know how to tell this entire story.
Fun
No
fact,
one.
actually, it was issues before it was graphic
Oh,
novel.
really?
It switched to a graphic novel because the pandemic hit, which we got really lucky because, again, a lot of creators got pencils down, but we
Mm-hmm.
were still allowed to go. So
Yeah.
we got really lucky, but they did say instead of single issues, we're going to change this to a graphic novel. So I think in hindsight for Matt and Lisa, who was co-writing at the
Yeah.
time, that's a lot easier to manage. And if anything, maybe more fun for Matt because there's no marriage to the single issue format anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So like you don't have to do the wrap up each issue and then the redo each issue. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's a lot more cohesive in that sense. And for me, it was a totally different deadline schedule
Mm-hmm.
and structure. So
So I mean, obviously you
yeah.
mentioned the pandemic hit, and so has this been something that's been working on since like for like 3 or 4 years now, or is this something that like when
Mariko
did this?
Between Worlds, actually, I think I started in either 2019 or
Oh wow.
2020, and I think I finished in 2021, maybe early 2022. So I had finished this way before Know Your Station, and I think I'd finished it in between True Cult.
Okay.
I honestly, I'd have to go back and look at like my calendar and see. But I mean, this was done years ago, so it's going to be interesting to see my artwork, of Know Your Station and like compare it.
To
Even though it's coming out around the same time,
yes,
I think Mariko got pushed back to October, but like
October
that's only a
11th.
month
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
Like True Call, Know Your Station, and Mariko all coming out month,
Yeah.
back to back is very interesting because I think it's like my middle baby, my youngest baby, and then my
Yeah.
oldest baby.
Yes, exactly. It's and it's funny. That's pretty. And now knowing this, now I want to go back and read all of them again. I mean, not that I need to be told to read all of them again or tricked into it, because I will read them all again. But like, it makes me want to like read them all again just to see that too. Like, and look at all. Even if I just flip through the pages and look at the artwork, it would be interesting to see on that. But obviously, this book comes out in October, you mentioned, from Mad Cave.
Mm-hmm.
Mad Cave Studios doing great work over there. I just, like I said, talked to Joe, who put out Dahlia in the Dark over at Mad Cave as well
Yeah,
as Beckstar. But the OGN part of it, that's an interesting, because I had some thought process about why it was an OGN and all that stuff, but that makes sense. It's because it was supposed to be originally a single issue comic book.
yeah, it's cool. Like it's definitely like for young adult,
Yeah.
age because it's dealing with thematics of like relationships and stuff like that. But it's I think it best fits the graphic novel market. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited to see how Know Your Station and True Call also work in the graphic novel market, the book market too.
Yes.
Just because, you know, they are even being direct market trades. I think that they do really well, like you said, because they're both miniseries. I
Mm-hmm.
think that they work really well in that.
Yes. Well, I think a huge thing to me is, when you mentioned the book market, is that like that's a huge thing. I think that's one of those things that if you don't have a, like, we just not everybody, most people have a good chance of getting to a bookstore within a reaching
Yes,
distance of where they live. It's less likely you're going to be within reaching distance of a LCS. Like, the local comic book shops are one of those things that
absolutely.
are like not everywhere, but somewhere to buy a book is likely close enough to you that you can do this in the Know Your Station trade paperback, the to your True Cult trade paperback, and then this book are all
Yep.
going to be on the book market as well. It's usually a day or two later or a week or two later. I think this is a day. I think it actually hits the book market on the 10th, and Mariko Between Worlds hits on the 11th. So it's a day
Yeah,
apart from each other. But yeah, you can talk to your local bookstore to get this kind of thing, which is kind of cool, and it reaches a whole new group of people from the beginning.
absolutely.
Like, the people who are actually going to read this from page one are, you might have bought it at a bookstore, might have bought it at LCS, or might have bought it on the internet. Wherever you buy it and enjoy it. But
Yeah.
um, I
It's
also
wild to
thought,
see
good,
after the
good,
pandemic too. Like, I mean, it's Simon and Schuster now.
yes,
So like it's like book market, which is
yes.
wild to see 3 years ago. That's You wouldn't have seen my book and like my name on Simon and Schuster's website unless I did a book market book. So it's
Correct.
kind of cool to see like the fulfillment being done through that.
Mm-hmm. Which is awesome. But we actually, I by the time while we're recording this, is this weekend, Daniel Kraus is coming to Bangor, where I live, to sign autographs. We did a beer. My brewery that I work for did a collaboration beer with Daniel for Whalefall, his new book that came out, and that's through Simon and Schuster as well. So it's, because
That's
they're on the same
awesome.
website, little connection there. No, I love also that the book is based in 2099. And that's the future. I feel like in comic books, that's just like the future for everything. 2099 is like the future for everything. Spider-Man 2099 is the future.
Blade Runner.
Yes, 2099.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all there's no world exists after 2100 in the
Nope.
world of the future. It's always 2099.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have a elevator pitch you explain to people what Mariko Between Worlds is about?
No. I would say if I had to come up with one off the fly, it's the saddest, weirdest breakup you've ever seen in your life. It will make you question your own heart and your own brain, probably. If you know anything about Matt Erman's writing, he makes you really dig deep into your own brain
Mm-hmm.
and question a lot of things, and it's very interpersonal. It digs into, I related to it a lot. There was a lot of the script that made me feel super deeply with these characters that I never thought that I would feel, connected to a character. I
Mm-hmm.
get very connected to my characters when I'm working on them because I'm working on them for sometimes 8 months, and uh you know, there were times when I read the script and I cried, you
Mm.
know. It's the mix between like I think the media that Matt had said that we were kind of pulling from was like The Night is Short, Walk On Girl, and like I can't even uh, there's not a lot that we've been able to compare it to, I guess. So but I the elevator pitch is watching a slow moving car wreck of a breakup, you know. But
That should
funny,
sell it. No,
which is yeah, like can you say that it's funny? I don't know, you know.
it has that
It's
moments, and
very
I
out
think
of
that's the
this
perfect
world.
amount. It's the perfect amount
Yeah,
of somewhat humor in there. There's this that jokes when there needs to be jokes, but there is this
mm-hmm.
seriousness and this moments of it. I was gonna ask the question, which now doesn't make any sense. Was it kind of refreshing? You get to draw some like out of this world kind of creature and other alien kind of
Absolutely.
characters, but it was drawn before that. I was like, oh, you just did True Cult and New Year's Station, but yeah, it must have been fun because that's a little bit more of the. Obviously it's creative to draw human beings and you have to make them all look a certain way and certain things and so on and so forth. But when you have the ability to draw some things that are not real in this interdimensional worlds, does that get your creative juices flowing a little bit more? Not that it's one better than the other, but is it different? I guess I don't know.
I mean, it was a really cool break in between. Like, I think previously I was working on She Said Destroy
Mm-hmm.
and uh, a lot of anthologies, a lot of sci-fi, a lot of stuff. And this was very much like limitless
Mm-hmm.
sci-fi, which I didn't quite. I think by the time I was finishing the book, I finally got a hold of like, oh, I could draw whatever I want. But it's like, you know, by the time you hit that, you're like, oh crap, you know, like I've already
Mm-hmm.
drawn the rest of the book. And so like, you know, I think doing True Call and Know Your Station, like between and or after, was
Yeah.
interesting because I was drawing like sentient refrigerators, and
Yes.
now, you know, I was just drawing normal people getting
Yeah.
skinned alive, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like, or
Yes.
so it's very, very different, very different. Um, and I think there was enough time in between all of them that it just seemed like, all right, and now this week is going to be this, you know.
Yeah.
So it was cool. And what's interesting about that book is Lisa Sturl, who co-wrote like I think the first issue with Matt, um, actually did a lot of designs for the book as well. Like she also
Mm-hmm.
did the cover, which I love. It's so beautiful. um, and so like Mariko and Rem's design were by her, so it's kind of cool to like work in tandem with like designs that she did, but then also do weird designs. And I've like given a shout out to Fabian Lelay. Like there were some points where like I needed assistance with layouts and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and so he would draw these like really weird things in the layouts. I'm like, hey, what is that? I'm gonna draw some weird stuff based off of this little scribble, and like it just like grew into this thing. So it's kind of like very fun to, again, like by the time I was finishing it, having like this space to kind of, I learned a lot on that book, I think
Yeah.
I will say. And I think that's why I Know Your Station is as strong as it is
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like horror sci-fi, because like I did so much sci-fi that interesting to go to a very structured like this
Yes.
is the spaceship, this is this, you know. So
And it's just that's not exactly what I was like. It kind of reminds you of what you were able to do a little bit with like what you do for a couple of the Star Wars Adventures stuff, where you have like it's a different world, and so you have that funness in it. But it's unbelievably illustrated. It's unbelievably, obviously unbelievably colored because Rebecca's amazing, and
yeah,
Micah Myers is killing it right now too. Like there's not a single book that I've read recently that Micah's lettered that I haven't been like, this is amazing.
I love Micah. Micah's letters, and actually like Cardinal Ray's letters in
Yes,
New Year's
yes,
Station just like blow me away.
yes,
Unreal. And same
yeah,
with DC. Like DC
yeah.
on True Cult, like we've been very spoiled by all three of them. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know, you know, the three of them that well, but like to again goes back to like how to collaborate with people that you don't know very well,
Mm-hmm.
and like how well it comes out. Oh, it's just, you know, trust your collaborators,
Exactly.
right?
I mean, you've been on this I would say press tour, I should say, because you've got True Cult, who just came out, like you mentioned. You know, your station's coming out in September, and then this is actually coming out, but like it's a
Yeah.
culmination of all these endings of these, either single issues that are now in trades or this OGN. Like, what do you, obviously there's things you can't talk about, but I'm guessing you're working on things. Are you working on some sequential stuff too, or are you just doing covers? What's going on right now in the world, your world?
I'm doing a lot of covers. I actually
Okay.
just wrapped up. I'm doing an Archie short called Welcome to Riverdale that's actually coming out like right before Halloween. I think it's the week of New York Comic Con.
Okay.
And I'm working on covers, but I'm also working on something that I can't announce.
Yes, obviously.
That's like, you know, in between, that's been in between all these projects and stuff. But I've done some really, really fun covers that everyone will like know once it's announced. And that's been the thing that I've been the most excited about because like a lot of people don't know this, but I do a lot of my covers traditionally. So it's like fun to kind of have like the original art for that now, especially being repped by Cadence and like going to all these cons and stuff for people to discover like that I do most of my covers traditionally. And I've been having so much fun doing that because I get to read a lot of comics now done by amazing people, and like getting to see these before it's out is so fun. You know, I like being kind of like part of a team that I feel like I get all the benefit with like only just a little bit of work, which is awesome. It's awesome.
Yes,
you know,
it's
I get
fun.
to, I love supporting other people's books. So
I think you did a cover for Mom Breaks the Internet too, right? Yes.
yeah, I think I did that in
Yes.
2017 or 2018. It honestly shocked me seeing it in previews. Somebody sent it to me. I was like, oh, that's like probably one of the first covers I did. That one's actually digitally though. So that
Okay.
one,
That's kind of funny. I was like, oh, I didn't see this coming. Like, I just, because it's funny. Yeah, I just saw it. I was like, oh, wow, this is interesting. I didn't see this coming.
I did a cover for Welcome to Riverdale,
Yeah.
the one shot that I did with Amy, and
Mm-hmm.
I just saw that Marguerite Sauvage did the alternate cover. So like to see both of ours together, I'm like, oh, that is like such a bucket list thing for me. Like I've always wanted a cover of hers, so that's gonna be really fun.
That's awesome. But you're busy. You're working, obviously.
Yes, yes. I'm doing a lot of shows this year. I'm doing a lot for my Patreon. I have a new like print and sticker club type thing that I've like committed to prints and stickers every month. And I am also doing cons, now with Cadence. And New York is going to be my biggest one, because we're celebrating, honestly, all 3 books coming out. So that's going to be so much fun. That's the first time I'm tabling at New York ever.
Oh, wow.
Which is so fun. I'm really excited. And I can't wait to meet everybody because that's like such a big show.
It's huge. That's a lot of fun. I'm excited for you for that for sure. And like I said, it's one of those crazy things that like you work towards all these things, and obviously when issue 1 of a comic book hits the shelf, that's a big thing for you because it's the beginning of the series, and obviously every month there's a new issue. But like the trade is like, okay, this project's now quote unquote complete. It's now in this spot, and if it's not continuing, this is the end of it, and this is pretty cool. And it's just like you're getting like literally 3 months in a row. You're just like, all these products are coming to an end. You have new things to promote now, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's True Cult available from IDW, which is on comic book shelves now and at bookstores and everywhere. Do you sell any of this on your website? I forget.
I typically have a pop-up shop
Okay.
once a year.
Okay.
I might list a couple of these remarked on my store website, but the majority, I would say, support your local comic shop.
Yes.
Like, please. They run because you order stuff from them. Don't support these big websites that ship to you in one day. You can go pick it up, make a little day out of it, get a little coffee, get a donut,
Yes.
And your local bookstores. Like,
yes,
we are losing bookstores left and right too. So please support them if you don't have a comic shop near you. Yeah, exactly. True Cults is out, and again, content that is not in the single issues. So I implore you to grab it. It is very fun. If you like a good book about friends that get into zany shit together, this is a good book for you.
It's a book that made me go, what the fuck, but also in a good way, but not, not in a bad way, but made it like, you like, what the hell just happened? But like, again, not a movie when you end the movie, you're like, what did I just watch? Like, what did I just read? But like, oh my God, I need to go back and read it again.
I love
I
that.
feel like
Thank you
it's
so
much
much.
fun. And then Know Your Station, again, it's such a quality book. You got quality team there writing that. Mariko Between Worlds is awesome. I'm loving tons of stuff that Mad Cave's putting out right now. And this is just another one of those ones you can check that box off of a good book to read. Obviously, She Said Destroy is amazing, and all your covers are great. So everybody go out there and do that. Take a check out that. If you're in New York or whatever, and you're going to go to New York Comic Con, check you out there. You have a Patreon, you can subscribe to your Patreon for sure, and follow you on social media. Are you just at Liana Kangas everywhere?
Yes,
I think you are.
Yeah,
including
the new Blue Sky. Yeah.
Yes.
Love Blue Sky.
The thing is, the only frustrating thing about that one is the fact that it says .bsky.social is the only that's frustrating to me. I don't understand that whole thing. But
hopefully they'll fix that at some point.
It's a marketing tool. Also, like it's that needs to be fixed too. But like it's nice. And so I had a couple of codes and I put it up there. My best man at my wedding, who's a couple years old, and that's a couple years older than me. He's like 20 years older than me. Was like, what's this thing? Like, he thought I was not inviting to something special, some sort of secret club, some sort of special event that I wasn't inviting him to. He's like, what's these invites that you have? And I'm like, you don't even have a Twitter. So let alone needing another alternate thing to that thing. Don't worry about it. Someone else could take.
I was in the car with one of my best friends the other day, and she was scrolling Mastodon, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot Mastodon's still a thing. I think I have one, but it's very difficult to keep up with multiple avenues of social media. I will say.
And I forget about it. It's like certain things I use later to manage a lot of my social media for the website and the podcast, and they don't have things like B-Sky and all that, So like that's another reason why I'm like, oh crap, I forgot. Hive was the other one that was out there that I was like, oh wow, I forgot about this. And then I said I downloaded it like it was 9 months ago, and I was talking to my wife, but she goes, it was that long ago. I go, yeah, whatever. But Blue Sky. Again,
I saw this like loop of like things that happened this summer, and I already was like, summer 2023 feels like 8 years, and I don't know.
It's all coming to an end here. No,
yeah.
So I'm excited for, like I said, because Mariko, but we will be out the week of New York Comic Con, right? Yeah.
So we'll welcome to Riverdale too.
Oh yeah, that was same week. Yeah. So that's pretty cool, actually. That's a good time.
Available. Yeah.
That's great time. And obviously sometimes it's worth it, but like I've been to conventions before where like literally the book of the person is looking forward to come out. It comes out the week after they're there, and they don't even have any copies.
That's what happened with us with San Diego and True Call. It was the week after San Diego. We're like,
this sucks.
Shoot.
We should move the entire convention because my book's not out yet. Let's do it the next weekend.
Yeah, totally.
It's a small little like mom and pop convention. You can just do that, right? Just push it over 1 week. No, but I really appreciate again you taking the time out to talk to us over here, and maybe one of these days,
God, of course,
we'll just talk and shoot the shit the entire time without trying to promote anything, and that might be nice too. But we always want to promote your stuff. So,
well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you reading the books, let alone advertising them to all your listeners. So I really appreciate it. But yeah, we definitely have to talk more about like beer labels and stuff, because you had actually inspired me. I wrote down a list of things that I wanted to do in like 2023, 2024. And one was like, yeah, I do want to design a beer label. I think that would be very fun, along with a whole list of other stuff. We'll definitely have to shoot the shit next time.
Yes,
but I can't tell you how much I appreciate, especially your kind words about Know Your Station. And
it's amazing. It's amazing. Get it, people. Buy it. It's amazing. I'm sure that Boom does a great job with their trades too. So I'm sure the trades are going to look amazing. So just grab those out there as well on September 20th. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Follow Liana on Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, whatever that social media. I'll just say social media, all that stuff out there. But again, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, dude.